Hey guys, it's Dan and Mariah, and today we want to tell you one of our favorite pieces of advice that we give to couples.
Yeah, so there's tons of advice that we give couples, but this is one of the ones I find myself going back to time and time again because it's one that helps me in our relationship a lot. And I think that it's something that could also help a lot of relationships.
I feel like it's a universal experience.
It's
like
true.
when we say it, you'll be like, yes, I know what you're talking about.
So the advice is this, listen carefully. Sometimes in relationships, there's times where you feel like you don't want to say anything and you should, but there's times where you want to say something and you shouldn't. So conflicts are pretty nuanced, pretty complicated, and I think that specifically for the first one where it's like I don't want to say something and I should, it's like in times where I want to say sorry, or I want to say, you know what, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Or you know what, I apologize or whatever.
But I think I experience this actually a lot in another way. Like if there's something you've done that hurts my feelings, I can often just not want to say it. Like I not want to tell you and not want to deal with it because I'm like, oh, we'll start this big conversation and like maybe I'm fine. Like I don't need to worry about it. So I'll like push it away. And there are those times, some of those times you should actually say something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think too, it expands for me out to like compliments. Like I'm not a crazy verbal person. I'm not like an external processor. So sometimes I'll experience like, oh, that was really nice when she did that. Or I really love it when she prioritizes this, but I don't actually convey it to you. And I think that's another kind of time where it's like, I need to step out and almost like deny my instinct to say nothing and say something.
Like you're like, I don't feel like it's worth it to say anything, but it actually is.
Yeah, because it's just like, why would I withhold something positive that could encourage you or even brighten your day when it's in me? You know what I mean?
Totally. And then the other side of it.
Yeah, the other side of it is sometimes we feel like saying something and we shouldn't. So for me, it's like my conflict tendency is that like almost like
really direct,
being verbally combative, like not like yelling or swearing or anything like that, but I'll be like almost like try to rationalize my point of view or try to say the thing that gives me the edge. And so for me, this advice is most helpful.
Yeah.
Say, for example, if you're giving me feedback, it's easy for me to think like, oh, what's most helpful for me in preserving my heart and mind is to like give you counter feedback
or
and be
justify.
Like, oh, but you do this, or but the reason I did this was that. It's like, but sometimes it's most helpful for me just to say like, you know what, thanks for that feedback. I'm gonna work to improve on that, and then say nothing else.
Yeah.
Because I think that sometimes we use the opportunities of like confrontation to like confront back because it makes us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's helpful to stay quiet.
I think my temptation when I feel like I want to say something but I really shouldn't is what comes out of my mouth is you always.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that can be such a harsh like generalization to put on your spouse. Like you always do this, and I feel like those are times you really got to rein it in because it's like you're wanting to speak out of a moment of frustration and you really just need to cool down and wait till you're rational enough to be like, hey, it actually really bothers me when you do this and I notice you do it often, instead of being like, you always do this.
Totally. And there's one thing that I would leave with couples is there's going to be like an instance in your relationship where you know, especially for that last point where you want to say something and you shouldn't, you know that thing that you can say to your significant other that like crosses the line. That really hurts their feelings or breaks their heart or taps into a specific insecurity of theirs. And it's so important for people to recognize the value of actually exercising self-control and not saying the thing, because it's like, although you can like recover from, that was a miscommunication, or I shouldn't have spoke out so aggressively or so direct. You can't necessarily recover from hurting someone's feelings based on something that you've been storing up for a while. So specifically in a context like that, I would encourage couples to really rein it in.
Yeah, because
be
it's
careful.
like your spouse has the power to make you like so happy and feel like so much joy, but
it's your safe
also,
place. Your safe place, yeah.
But also with that power, they have the other side to really be able to tear you down if they wanted to, because they know everything about you. And so,
and it's really like hard to rebuild that once it's been broken. Like you've had 100%. That relationship with the friend where they've said something or betrayed your confidence by revealing something that you told them in secret, or confessed a weakness and you use it again, like they use it against you or whatever. It's just like with friends, you can kind of say like, oh, our relationship isn't that deep, or you can say like, okay, we're not, our relationship has to change now. But with a spouse or a significant other, it's like, no, we have to work to make that back and redevelop and recover from that.
Exactly. Yeah. So remember, don't say things you feel like saying sometimes, and say things you don't feel like saying sometimes.
Yeah. And if you have any thoughts on that sentiment or on the advice in general, we'd love to hear it. Make sure to drop it in the comments. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next time.